Ne plus voir le cas, ça me ferait tellement de mal.
Ta mère, elle est triste et c'est dégueulasse ce que tu fais avec son petit-fils.
De quoi tu te mêles?
C'est nous. Toi, surtout. Vous savez, Vincent n'a pas eu une vie facile.
Je ne suis pas certaine qu'il s'agisse d'un accident.
Tu es au courant de quelque chose?
Allez.
Dans mon placard.
C'est collector, alors.
Ouais, mais moi, il y a écrit Venise dessus.
Bueno, egunon, eta ongi etorri guztioi Donostiako zinemaldiko 72. ediziora, gaurko prentsaurrekoan Cuando cae el otoño filma izango dugu. Hola.
Hi, good morning to everyone, and welcome to the 72nd San Sebastian Interval Festival. In this press conference, we're presenting the film Quand vient de l'automne, when fall is coming. To present the film that competes in the official section, we've got a part of the whole crew. We've got on the right, PIERRE, LOTTIN, actor, BALASKO, actress, FRANÇOIS, OZON, director, HÉLÈNE, Vincent, actress, and SAGNIER, actress. Excuse me for my pronunciation of French. And I would like to commence this press conference with a question for the director. I was asking myself for the origin of the project, a story which is quite peculiar vis-a-vis the plot and where it leads us and the construction of the characters and the backstories. I would like to ask you, what was the original idea? Where does it stem from? That is to say, the film When Fall is Coming. This film, I made it after Montreal, My Crime. It's a film in where a lot of theater and artificial sort of, it was a theater. It was a play that I wanted to adapt it to the film. I wanted to shoot in nature in Burgundy, a place where I spent my childhood. There are strange sounds, it seems, I seem to be hearing. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, Burgundy, that's right. We had shot the film in Burgundy. I wanted to go back to Burgundy and to shoot the film there, and I wanted to make a film that showed just two women at a certain age who live in the country. The two women at a certain age are invisible in cinema, and I wanted to give them the main and leading roles. And it reminded me of in my childhood, one of my aunts organized at a given moment a dinner or a family get-together or dinner, and it had the idea of, going to pick some mushrooms in the forest, and everyone ended up in hospital very sick, except her, because she didn't eat those mushrooms. I always liked that idea, and when I was a child, the truth is, I loved my auntie because the attempt of finishing with the whole family, annihilating them all. So that was the anecdote and the origin of the story. Every time we go to cook mushrooms for someone, unconsciously we don't want to get rid of them, obviously. Is that true or not? I think today, autumn comes in today. Today is the first day of autumn. I would like to ask you, congratulations. I love the film. It's delicious, actually, to watch. And I think that it reflects very well that the relationships between family members are relations of power at the end of the day. We can still turn things around, and which is the mother of all conflicts. Can we still go, or many conflicts that happen? Yes, it's a film in which we talk about the family and toxic relations that may exist between mothers and children. These two women have problems with their respective sons. Michel's character, that's portrayed by Helena, and Josiane, and her character, Marie-Claude. What interested me was to show that what's most important in the family is the family that we create more than the blood-linked ties. And we see how Michel in the film wants to create a new family and a new family group. A new family, shall we say.
Hi, a question here from Brazil,
De Brasil.
If we analyze your body of work and we think about movies like Le Refuge, Summer of '85, Everything Went Fine, death is always coming around, and it's a movie about death. I would like to understand a little bit more the perspective of death in that movie. And I also would like to ask you about the colors of the film, because when we talk about otoño, autumn, instantaneously the idea of more dry colors come to our mind. If you could say a few words about it. Congratulations for the amazing film.
Oui, c'est un film qui parle de la mort comme beaucoup de mes films.
It's a film and the way that I talk about death. I talk about death. 20 years ago, I came here for the first time with a film, Sur le sable, Under the Sand, and it talks about sorrow and pain, on grief, how we are able to bear with the loss of the people we love. And in this case, Michelle's character with her daughter and the disappearance of her daughter, that fact, that tough fact, at a given moment she says that she feels relieved now that life is much simpler for her once her daughter is not there. Everyone follows their own life and their own path, and that's quite exciting. That the issue that has to do with grief. I would like to ask you about the script, how you tell the story and how you reveal a lot of little details at a certain moment in the film. I would like to know how many versions of the script once you said, well, I can't do this, tell this part of the story here or later on, that key moment of what happened in Valerie's house, whether perhaps there was another version where you thought that you were going to edit it in a different way. Could you talk about the script a bit more? Thank you. It's true that the screenplay or the script was very long. I had a version where everything that's not seen on the screen appears. There's things I deliberately decided to not shoot, not show, not even maintain in the editing room, because editing is rewriting the script. In this film, I have wagered in favor of the intelligence of the viewer or the spectator. The spectator's got to imagine. I think the spectator, the audience, are sufficiently intelligent to understand this. And I thought that quite often in life, we interpret things poorly or falsely, and after a few years we realize that perhaps we didn't understand things very well, and quite often we make mistakes because we omit them. It's a word omission that is not mentioned. We don't say what isn't even said in family relationships, not even in friendship. Between Michel and Maricole, they don't tell each other everything, and they prefer not to know everything, and sometimes it's useful to not to know the truth. I'm going to speak in French, and then I'll translate it into Spanish. I want to ask a question for Josiane Velasco and HÉLÈNE Vincent. How you've addressed these characters. It's not usual to see women at a certain age with the leading roles. What have been your feelings? How did you construct your characters? I've just asked HÉLÈNE Vincent and Josiane Balasko how they've created their characters, because it's difficult to see women of a certain age in big screens. Oh, well, on the big screens. I didn't hear it very well. Excuse me for this. When I received this possibility, I feel very excited, and I continue to feel that excitement now. The truth is, it's not very usual to give you such an important and complex and such a subtle role to portray when one has stopped being so young. It happens in very few occasions. It's all of a sudden when you're a certain age, we would have nothing to tell, but François knows how to tell stories with young women and with older women. And he always opened different paths for us to be able to act. From the moment I impregnated myself by reading the script, I read the script for a long time, and I learned my dialogues by heart and off by heart, for example. Slowly but surely that entered into me, and I let myself be possessed by the role I had to portray. And plus, I've also worked with Josiane. We didn't know each other, and it was marvelous. And we've worked in a very intense and beautiful way. It was a real gift. Well, I'm much lazier, so therefore everyone's going to end up to get to know that I work much less than she does. No. And so therefore I said, no, the truth is I work more than she does. But when Francois called me to tell me, well, he didn't say anything special. He said, I've written something, I've got a role for you. I said, okay, and that's it. Let's go. It's something. He's someone who I admire his work. He's someone who renews, who undertakes risks, changes styles. Well, not style, he changes genre. And the character of Marie-Claude, it's like she's the confidante in the classic tragedy. She admires her. She's always wanted to follow Michel. We know her past, that common past, which isn't a secret past. And at that time, she had to help they had to help each other mutually. And Michel, I think, has been someone who is always ahead of my character. So therefore, I'm the one that is in that little village, and that's why Michel comes to the little village, because I already live there. Everything. He didn't tell us anything before. We knew nothing beforehand. Of course, we will never know what happened in Valérie's house. During the shoot, we had the same doubts as the characters had. As the actresses are talking, could we ask Pierre and Ludivine for their experience in the film with the characters that turn the screw? In the case of Ludivine, we've got a person who's toxic, but at the end of the day is the daughter who's toxic with the mother, which is a very complex portrait of the character. In the case of Pierre, we've got a person who tries to do everything properly, but everything goes wrong. There's a bit of humor there, but there's an enormous development of the characters. What was it like to work with Francois, and what was it like? What was your relationship with this film and the script? Yes, I speak neither English or Spanish, but I'm going to speak in French. Well, it seems he's got... Well, I was pleased to work with François Ozon for the fourth time. 20 years ago, it's 20 years since we've worked together, so therefore it's been a pleasure to be able to work with him on the set to recover our complicity, and in this way to be able to form part of his work. After 20 years, the truth is I was very pleased that she offered me this character. Character was as different to the roles that I'd portrayed beforehand. Valérie is a very complex character, that's true, but she's not a character that provokes any empathy directly, truth be said, not immediately. Isn't that the case? So it's not always easy to portray a character when we judge the character, because if we judge the character, we're already applying a certain layer of interpretation. So therefore, what I wanted to do was to start by understanding her challenges. She's toxic. Well, perhaps, okay, she's toxic. I'll give you that, but she's toxic. She's toxic because she's from an environment which is in turn toxic. We understand vis-a-vis Michel's past that I'm sure she had a childhood that was very, very difficult, with the image of a home, a family setting which is not a usual setting, and this marked her she had lacked a lot of things during her childhood, and that marked her to a certain extent. She's incapable of correctly taking care of her son. That's why that resent towards her mother was so strong that she's unable to forgive her mother. In the film, we also talk about forgiveness. We forgive our parents, mothers or fathers, because they haven't done things right. We forgive our sons or daughters their ingratitude, and we forgive ourselves. Valerie's journey is quite particular because the relationship with her mother there will only be peace there after dying. I've understood the question by receiving. I was in Channel 3, and that wasn't the correct one. I should have been on Channel 4. Okay. But I had translation into English. With Francois, he has written a very fun role for me on set. And on set, things were very pleasant. My character has no notion of what's good or bad. He's got a notion that he's doing things well and all the contrary, but always in the origin, he has good intention in mind, albeit when at the end he ends up killing someone. I'm not too sure whether he does this on purpose or not. Someone ends up dying. What I like about this character is that he's dangerous and he's concerning, you know. At the end, maybe we don't like him, but he's likable.
I have the impression almost no one actually misses Valerie when she died. So everything is fine when she has passed away. So the family of Michel becomes a very rich one with a grandchild and with Vincent. And I asked myself, even the judge, the police officer, when she comes, she first is suspicious. And I think, of course, she knows very well that there was a crime. But at least she does not follow her suspicion because she remarks somehow that everything is fine about this family. So is there, and not only fine because you wrote the book like that, what is far away probably from reality, but probably it is kind of a spiritual idea of universe, that universe sometimes fits the things together how they should be, and even if there is someone who is so disturbing, and it's a human life who has to die, but probably it's better if she dies because everything is fine. Is this kind of an idea, or is this just my interpretation? Thank you.
Moi, oui.
Yes, of course, I understand what you're trying to say. And then we see Michel's character, how she suffers with the love of her daughter. But there's an ellipsis there. Symbolically, we don't show the burial of the daughter, but we do show the burial of Marie-Claude, because at the end of the day, the most important person for her is, as she said, is her sister, Marie-Claude. So therefore, that was, narratively, I wanted to do that. And the character of the woman, the policewoman, I love to write that part because I love what Sophie does, the actress. Before shooting the film, a very well-known police officer read the script in Paris, and I asked him what he thought as regards the policewoman. He said, the character of the policewoman is great. And I said, yes, do you think it's believable? No, it's not at all believable, but it's great that the audience might think that a policewoman could exist, of this type could exist. And at the same time, she has no proof. What I was interested in showing that this woman, at the end of the day, closes the case. She comes back because she has a few doubts, but when she comes back, she discovers that family universe, everything seems to be fits into place, everyone's happy, the young boy seems to be okay, and so is it worthwhile destroying this? The audience will have to decide and judge it. I love the film very much, the autumn of life, and today is the first day of autumn, by the way. I was interested, from everything that has been said, the family relationships and the blood ties and the unconscious way of eliminating that toxic relationship, And also second chances. It seems that second chances, that despite having a past which is full of difficulties, the issue is you can have a different type of life. And with the Greek tragedies, we see that there had to be sacrifices for this, as we know. So therefore, the grandson is benefited, and the grandmother, and the son who just comes out of jail is benefited. But there have to be sacrifices. There has to be a father that's far away who loses his son, and so on and so forth. I don't know whether you assess this in the same way that I'm saying. Second chance needs a sacrifice, and then I love the way, as you've just said, the role of the impartial, the policewoman who sanctions and says, why the hell are we going to move all of this if things are working? That second chance exists. She's a mother, she's a single mother, this is okay, and that's it. Is the way I'm reflecting upon this second chance with like a Greek tragedy with sacrifice? Is that right? Yes, that's what I liked about the character of Michelle. She's a woman who is surviving, but she's had a lot of vitality. She's a survivor. All the contrary to Marie-Claude, she doesn't feel any blame or guilty. She says, I've got very few years to live. I want to enjoy myself. I want to spend some time with my grandson, and to drag everything under the carpet. We could call it a second chance, but I think the truth is her will to live. Sometimes in life, we make decisions or choices, and we decide that grief or difficulty we don't want them to destroy us. And Michelle, she's a heroine, and she's also a bit of a monster because she drags a lot of things under the carpet. Congratulations, a question for Francois. Two questions for Francois. The first is to normalize the issue of prostitution, which I thought was great. And because with all the films that are made nowadays, it's an issue that's not addressed. Why? Is that just an anecdote? How did this issue arise? And then secondly, whether when writing the script, you also thought about the cast and the actors and actresses that portrayed the roles. Did you think about them already? It was important to have the past of these women there in order to explain their difficulties when bringing up their children. One just comes out of jail, and the other one has a very aggressive relationship with a mother. I talked with many sons and daughters of prostitutes, and they said that it was very difficult to live with a mother who exercises this profession. Some of them completely reject their mothers. They don't want to know anything about them, and others, on the contrary, understand their mothers, and they say that their mothers are victims, that they didn't do it perhaps because out of choice, but because society has led them to do so. So it's quite a mortiferous, shall we say, decision in France. I don't know what they say in Spain, but they don't have an identity, they don't have retirement, they don't have social security. It's very difficult for a prostitute to spend the last years of their lives. And I was interested to see what was the position of the son and daughter vis-a-vis the mother. And secondly, yes, actors and actresses that I chose. I wanted to work with actors and actresses who I like and who I love. With HÉLÈNE and JOSIANE, I'd already worked, and thank God, both of them were mothers there, and they were good mothers, I would say, because they were the mothers of the victims of those boys who had suffered abuse by priests. And I loved our collaboration there, and I wanted to shoot women who assume their age at their age. So therefore, the truth is that the actresses supposedly have to get operated and go through surgery, cosmetic surgery. I wanted beautiful women like this, and to shoot their wrinkles and their reality, and they accepted to do so. And of course, they are beautiful women at their age, and that was the most important thing for me. Hi, it's a question for Francois and for Pierre LOTTIN. Let's see. I'm very excited. I like Lucas's character because he seems to know more than what he shows. And it freaks me out that the relationship that he has with Pierre. I'm not too sure. It's something which is very subtle, but it's very misconcerting. I say, what the hell's happened here? Does he know everything or not? And since when does he know everything? I'd like to ask you both, what happens there and how LOTTIN addressed portraying the role? 2, 3 stories. First, there's several stories there. First, the story that I tell with Lucas, and then Ozon and the director and Luca, and then what the spectator wants to understand there. I don't want to tell the story. There are too many people to tell what I think, but we're talking about to Luca at the end. Luca at the end. What I was interested in about is that this boy, obviously he played an essential role with the policewoman when she looks at the photos. I think he doesn't remember the person who opened the door 3 months ago before. And plus, she didn't know the character of Lozon at that time because he was in jail. The boy was 8 years old, and perhaps he'd seen him when he was 3 years old, but he doesn't remember or recognize him. But when the policewoman has the hypothesis that perhaps he was there, just like the grandmother, that he prefers simply, no, not at all. So he prefers to strengthen that family or favor the family that lives in now. But later on, things don't go well because there are secrets in the families and things that aren't said. That always emerges. And Paul Piet, who talks about Luca, who's a bit older, we wanted to talk about his fragility, and the spectators can question what they know, what he knows, and what he doesn't know. For him, it's something quite complex. On the one hand, we've got love towards his grandmother, and the other hand, you've got the character of Vincent, who is a person who sort of plays the role of a father, but in turn he's a person that has to confront his mother's death. But I think the actor does a great job, by the way. Thank you very much to everyone. I hope you enjoy yourself in San Sebastian, and I hope you don't eat any mushrooms.